So the scene is set for 1971. Some would put it in the summer of 71. Um, it's hard to say because you get the message coffee house and that whole thing of when did the breakup and the split happen. Some say the FF started in August of 71. But what you have is Stewart Traill, age 35, 36, um, wife, 5 kids, doesn't belong to an established church, doesn't believe in the established church. He's gone to the Message Coffee House. He's gone to various Bible studies with Skip, with Neil, Patty, and he's not really quite a leader yet, but he's obviously older than everybody, and he has studied the Bible. Now, has he had formal training? Has he been discipled by anyone? Has he been ordained by anyone or commissioned by anyone? No. If you look at Scripture in 1 Timothy 3, there's an actual description and standards for a pastor, a leader of the church. Here's where we start to see Stewart's unaccountability in the making. Okay, is it against the law to start your own group? Not in America. No, you can do that. If you're starting a Bible group, you can do that. Now, can you be unschooled, uneducated as far as formally in seminary, not trained or discipled by any Christian leader? According to Stewart, no, you don't have to be. I remember the scripture he used to use about the disciples not going to any formal education. They were common, uneducated men, and Jesus never studied, and so I don't need to study. I don't need any kind of formal institution. And it was just, again, another counterculture, anti-establishment kick. But it also meant that Stewart could have authority without accountability. Now, this is where we get into the problem. Stewart Traill, at least in the beginning of the FF, was one of the leaders. You had fellowship house leaders. And the way Neil described it, that the FF was actually going, Skip and Neil and Patty and their wives met together before Stewart even showed up. They were actually a group of sorts. Stewart came in and kind of horned in on and eventually took over the group. And Neil says that it's, things were already going before Stewart came. So it makes sense. And again, Stewart, the legend is that he led a bunch of people to Jesus in Allentown and started a group. That's not true. He actually commandeered an already existing group, which would make sense, at least according to the behavior that he showed after. So he's going to Bible studies with Skip and Neil and Patty, and they're meeting together and meeting at 128 South Church Street. They're meeting at 137. They're getting their houses. They're doing the rent. They're doing things. Stewart has them going on vacuum cleaner trips, and he's employing them, and they're kind of working together, and he's working with them. Stewart's home behavior, I've written about it, but his treatment towards his first wife was pretty unbelievable. As far as his disapproval of her gaining any weight, her stepping on the scale and being weighed by him, and being spanked if somehow she gained weight or gained pounds. I wrote that down. That's a brother, an early brother in the FF actually saw this, witnessed this. He used to talk to the children about his wife and pretty much telling them that she was a bad mother. He would record meetings with her, tape recordings of her with the kids and with, and the whole thing of whether or not she committed adultery, still up for grabs. I've heard that he actually set her up at times, had brothers drop her off at bars wearing, seductive clothing, hoping that if she did go out with somebody, he'd have grounds to accuse her of adultery. He had brothers follow her and watch her and get evidence of her um, of adultery. Um, he himself had a sister on his lap in the diner and was seeing this sister sort of off on. There was something there, and this prompted that sister, this prompted Shirley to one time go in the diner and take a bowl of sugar and dump it on his head and said, "If you can go out, I can go out also." And this was referring to this other sister that Stewart seemed to be attracted to and was paying attention to. Now, this sister was 17, 18, 19 years old, and Stewart was married with 5 kids at age 36, 37. This is the FF. Now, some want to say that the FF, that was the glory days and that things were great, and Stewart was right on. Well, Stewart was behaving towards his wife that way during the FF. He was verbally and physically abusive to her. And it appears that he was, at least by his actions, was already cheating on her before he leveled a charge of adultery against her. Let me cut tape here and we'll go to part 4.